You are running harder than you need to. Right now, today, every single run. You are working harder than your body actually requires, and it is making you slower, not faster. I know that sounds completely backwards. I know you've been told the opposite your entire life. But stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to show you is going to change the way you think about every mile you've ever run.
Subscribe to the channel! Click the button and subscribe now. Don't miss out. Subscribe today.
Let me paint a picture. You lace up your shoes, you head out the door, and about 10 minutes in your breathing gets ragged, your legs start to burn, and some stubborn voice in your head tells you to push through it. So you do. You gut it out. You finish the run feeling completely destroyed. You're proud of yourself, and you go home thinking you did the work. And then 6 weeks later you check your pace and it hasn't moved. Not a single second. Be honest with yourself. That's you, isn't it? Here's what nobody tells you at the starting line. There is a use. Technique, dead simple, feels almost too easy. That makes running feel effortless. Not metaphorically effortless. Physically, mechanically, scientifically effortless. Elite runners have been using it forever. Coaches know about it. Exercise physiologists write papers about it. And the average recreational runner is completely ignoring it because it doesn't look like hard work. Stop. Think about that. The thing that makes running easier looks too easy, so people skip it. Incredible. Let's talk about why you're suffering first, because the suffering has a very specific cause, and it is not what you think it is. When you go out and run hard every day, at some point you hit a wall. Your lungs are on fire. You feel like you cannot get enough air. Your instinct tells you your body is desperate for oxygen. So you breathe faster, shallower, more frantically, and it gets worse. Here's the truth. You are not suffocating. You are drowning in carbon dioxide. Your body is producing CO2 faster than il. You can exhale it, and your brain is reading that CO2 buildup as a 5-alarm emergency. The feeling of breathlessness is your CO2 alarm going off, not an oxygen shortage. Almost every runner on Earth gets this wrong, and because they get it wrong, they breathe in a way that makes the problem dramatically worse. The fix is counterintuitive. You have to focus on the exhale, not the inhale. A forced, complete exhale clears the CO2 before it stacks up. And when you pair that exhale discipline with a rhythmic breathing pattern, 3 steps breathing in, 2 steps breathing out, 3 in, 2 out, something almost magical happens. Your breathing locks into your stride. Your diaphragm stops fighting your footfall. Your upper body relaxes. Your heart rate drops. And suddenly running feels like running instead of a slow-motion drowning experience. Try it on your next run. 3 counts in, 2 counts out. Synchronize it to your steps. Give it 4 minutes and report back. But here's where we need to go deeper, because breathing mechanics are just one piece. The real reason you're stuck, the real reason your times haven't moved and your easy runs still feel hard, lives inside 3 pillars that every serious coach builds their training around. And I'd bet money you've heard these terms before without anyone actually explaining what they mean for your training tomorrow morning. The first pillar is your VO2 max. Think of it as the size of your engine. It's the maximum amount of oxygen your body can consume and use during maximum effort. Bigger engine, higher ceiling. You can improve it, but it takes very specific stimulus to do it. Short, brutal, high-intensity intervals that push you right to that ceiling and force adaptation. If you never go there, the ceiling never moves. Most recreational runners never actually go there. They train in this uncomfortable middle zone that's too hard to build base fitness and not hard enough to build top-end engine power. It is the worst of both worlds. The second pillar is your lactate threshold. This is where the real race happens. Your lactate threshold is the pace at which your muscles start producing lactic acid faster than your body can clear it. Above that line, the clock is ticking. The acid stacks up, your legs go heavy, and you slow down involuntarily. Below that line, you can run for hours. Raise that threshold, and the pace you can sustain for long distances goes up with it. That's how you get faster without feeling like you're working harder. That's the whole game. The third pillar is running economy. Think of it as your fuel efficiency. 2 runners with identical VO2 max scores can have wildly different performance because one of them wastes energy with every stride, overstriding, arm crossing, vertical bounce, and the other doesn't. Running economy is the multiplier. It determines how much of your engine's power actually translates to forward movement instead of heat and wasted motion. 3. Pillars. Engine size, engine endurance, fuel efficiency. And here's the part that almost nobody gets right. These 3 pillars require completely different training stimuli. You cannot improve all three by running the same way every day at the same effort level. It's biologically impossible. That's not an opinion. That's exercise physiology. And it is exactly why so many runners train consistently for years and get almost nowhere. Here is the framework that changes everything, and I want you to actually sit with this because it goes against everything the culture of running has been selling you. 80% of your runs should be slow. Embarrassingly slow. Slower than you think is productive. Slower than feels like exercise. Slower than your ego wants to go. Zone 2 effort. You can hold a full conversation, your breathing is relaxed, your heart rate is low. 80%. That means if you run 5 days a week, 4 of those days should feel almost too easy. The other 20% is where you bring the intensity. Real intensity. Not medium hard, not slightly uncomfortable. Actual hard work. The science behind this is not complicated. When you run slow enough, your body recruits its slow-twitch muscle fibers and primarily burns fat for fuel. Those slow-twitch fibers are packed with mitochondria, the little energy factories in your cells. When you consistently train them at low intensity, your body responds by building more mitochondria. More mitochondria means more aerobic capacity. More aerobic capacity means your lactate threshold goes up, your running economy improves, your VO2 max ceiling rises, everything goes up because you went slow. It sounds like a paradox. It is not a paradox. It is how physiology actually works. Most runners flip this ratio. They do 80% of their runs at a medium hard effort that feels productive but is actually the worst zone for adaptation. Hard enough to accumulate fatigue, not hard enough to drive meaningful improvement. It is the treadmill of recreational running. You feel like you're working, you are working, and nothing changes. That's why you're not improving. I'm going to say it plainly. That middle effort zone is where running careers go to die. So let's talk about what the other 20% actually looks like in practice, because this is where people get vague and useless with their advice. There are 3 workouts that do the heavy lifting, and you need all 3 in rotation. The first is your tempo run, your benchmark pace session. This is 85 to 90% effort, uncomfortable but controlled, the pace where you can say a word or two, but absolutely cannot have a conversation. You hold this for 20 to 40 minutes. This workout directly attacks your lactate threshold. It teaches your body to clear lactic acid faster and pushes that threshold pace upward. This is the workout that makes race pace feel manageable. The second workout is long intervals, not sprint repeats. Long intervals. 800 meters, a kilometer, mile repeats. Full recovery between each one. This is where you're reaching toward your VO2 max ceiling, forcing your cardiovascular system to operate at maximum capacity and adapt to that demand. 3 to 6 repetitions, hard effort, real recovery. This is the workout that expands your engine. The third workout is the most ignored workout in recreational running. It is the long easy run. Not the long run where you start easy and slowly drift into moderate effort. Not the long run where you're proud of yourself for keeping the pace up for 2 hours. The long run where you go slow, you stay slow. You finish feeling like you could keep going, and you do it for time on feet. This workout builds aerobic infrastructure. It grows mitochondrial density in a way that no other workout can replicate. And runners skip it or sabotage it by running it too fast every single week. Ridiculous. Here's the 8-week protocol that puts this all together in a way you can actually execute starting this weekend. For weeks 1 and 2, your only job is to reset your easy pace. No exceptions. Find a pace where you can breathe through your nose or hold a full conversation and run every session at that pace. Use the 3-2 breathing rhythm. Your ego will hate it. Your body will start rebuilding from the ground up. Weeks 3 and 4, you add 1 tempo session per week. 1. Warm up easy for 15 minutes, run 20 minutes at 85 to 90% effort with the forced exhale technique. Cool down easy. That's the entire session. Weeks 5 and 6, add 1 interval session per week. The tempo stays. You now have 2 hard days, 3 to 4 easy days. The gap between easy and hard gets bigger. Easier easy, harder hard. This is exactly what your body needs to adapt. Weeks 7 and 8, you add the long run. 90 minutes to 2 hours, completely easy, non-negotiable pace discipline. You now have the full framework operating. 2 hard sessions, 1 long easy session, easy days filling in between, 8 weeks. And here's what you'll notice around week 5. Your easy pace starts to feel faster. The same heart rate that used to correspond to a 9-minute mile now corresponds to an 8:30. You didn't change your effort. Your body became more efficient. That's the mitochondria. That's the lactate threshold rising. That's the engine getting tuned. That's the whole system working the way it was designed to work. And here's the moment I want you to sit with before you hit pause. Think about your last hard run. Think about how it felt at mile 2, mile 3, the burning lungs, the heavy legs, the voice telling you to stop. Now ask yourself honestly, were you improving or were you just suffering? Because suffering and improving are not the same thing. They look the same from the outside. They feel similar when you're in it. But one of them is building something and one of them is tearing something down. The technique we talked about today, the breathing pattern, the 80-20 split, the 3-pillar approach. This is what separates runners who plateau after 6 months from runners who are still getting faster years into their training. It's not talent, it's not genetics, it's not more willpower. It is the way you structure the work. Go slow to go fast. Exhale to breathe easier. Do the boring work to run the exciting race. Simple. Not easy, but simple. Now, here's what I need you to think about between now and next week. You just rewired how you train. But there's one more piece of this puzzle that almost nobody is talking about, and it's sitting right at the intersection of science and habit. 90% of runners know about it. Almost none of them actually do it. And no, it's not stretching, it's not foam rolling, and it's not sleep, even though you should be sleeping more. The answer involves what happens to your body the 48 hours after a hard run, and why most runners are unknowingly erasing every adaptation they just worked for. That's next week. If this hit different, if you're already thinking about your next run differently, subscribe. Not because the algorithm tells you to, because this channel is about running smarter, living healthier, and getting real results without destroying your body in the process. Hit that button, and I'll see you next week with the piece that ties the whole system together.